The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
You know what I'm saying? And I remember being so high. I was like, should I hit this nigga?
Right.
And I was like, nah, man, let me talk. Let me educate this motherfucker for a second and not get carried out of here in a police car, because I will kill this nigga right now. And I was high as shit. I remember just fighting myself to not strangle this nigga. And I was like, you know what? You should never do that again.
It's funny.
I was saying, yeah. That's what I said.
We're live.
We all. Oh shit.
Hey,
I don't give a fuck.
I didn't get the whole story.
It doesn't matter.
It's all good. It's all good.
The same thing happened with though, and Miles stopped me from, because we were at Diversion and I was DJing and she was like, look, because I've been DJing like by the pool and shit, so I was just playing whatever. But then they hired me to play DJ somewhere else in the hotel, like some other shit. And she was like, hey, just play your regular stuff like you play on the OZ. I want to hear all them nigga, bitches. And I was like, ooh. Right. And Miles just looked at me like, I was like,
man.
But it was like on a corporate gig, and I was like there, like with the suit on. You know, I had to like just. I was like,
man.
Ooh, I was like, I'm gonna see you later. It was like one of those. I'm gonna see you later. Ooh, I was so.
I had a situation.
Look, let me get this buddy first.
Right, you're right. I was like,
I had a situation years ago.
Y'all want to save these stories for the cast?
I don't know if I even want the story to be on that.
I mean, you can bleep the motherfuckers' names.
We're not gonna say their names.
I don't know if I want the story to be on there.
Yo, what up? Hold up. No, that's all good. No, say that shit. No, because that's what we talking about now. So
let's see how I feel later. If we can post it.
I mean,
it don't matter.
It's too late. But I'm saying he can bleep the names out.
I was on the road with Tank, and my ex came out for the weekend. And at the end of the night, we're like hanging out, smoking with Jelly. And she starts talking about like, what was that movie? I don't remember. But anyway, it's like some movie where like some black dude's like in this office, he's the only black dude, and this white guy starts like rapping the N-word at him. But my ex did it
as a demonstration,
repeatedly said the word,
trying to demonstrate, right.
And then I'm standing there like, what the fuck do I do? Like we're out here,
I slapped the shit out of him.
I knew that the thing was, I knew it was going to become a fucking issue. So then we go back to the room, and I was like, that was really, really inappropriate.
That was really
like
fucked up.
Like it's one thing if you like say this guy said the N-word and like, but.
Sorry to bother you.
Sorry to bother you. That's
sorry to bother you.
Yeah. And so,
I was
like, you bothered me.
But I was like, you don't have you can't just be saying that's not. You don't have the right to say that word. That's not like in any context. It's not appropriate.
And you know what? We was talking about first of all, real quick. We was talking about me
telling on herself a lot with that one.
You know.
Okay. Look, you like saying it, huh?
Me and Jamie was talking about that this morning because she was telling me that somebody was trying to contact her about she don't know how this motherfucker got on her friends list, but he was talking about being like campaigning to be the governor of Zulu.
Dennis,
yeah. And there's a white dude, and it was like, bro, ain't Zulus like the black shit? Like, what is these motherfuckers like? And then she showed me there was an old picture of one of her friends' dads in straight blackface. And I was trying to argue. I was not necessarily arguing with her, but I was telling her, like, anywhere else, that's blackface. Like, you like, white people can't go out in Zulu shit.
No, this is crazy.
Dressed up in blackface. Like, that's some bullshit.
When a bunch of them did it, right? And they rolled Zulu.
It's going to be a whole bunch of bleeps on this motherfucker.
Whatever they roll Zulu.
You got your work cut out for you.
Whatever they roll Zulu, they got invited by some crew that roll Zulu. Okay. I mean, that's the rules of the club. I can't get with it, but I'm not trying to die on that hill, right? But whatever. But the point is, some motherfuckers riding Zulu, they take a photo of themselves in Zulu. Now it's this nigga's profile picture. Yeah. It's 3 weeks after Mardi Gras. I'm like, yo, like, you in blackface on your profile picture. He's like, no, that's me in Zulu. I'm like, no, that's you in blackface on your profile picture.
It's the same thing.
This is a World Wide Web. This picture is everywhere. It's not just you in New Orleans.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, a lot of people don't know the context.
People don't have the fucking context.
People don't even understand what this is. And even if you do have the context, Is it appropriate?
What the fuck is
No,
wrong with you?
it's not appropriate.
It's the same
Yeah.
thing as like if I went out with a bullhorn and just handed some random white person a bullhorn and gave them a pass to say the word nigga all day. Like, let's see how long you would get. Let's see how far off the block you get without this bullhorn
Look, there's
pushed in your ass.
Stop.
Oh.
There's
You know what I'm
it's either
saying?
I think it's called the Kentucky Fried Movie. There's two movies. There's one called the Kentucky Fried Movie, and there's one called Amazon Women on the Moon. And it's
Amazon Women on the Moon
and
is
it's
my favorite movie.
Right, it's
of all
like it's
time.
all these different skits, right? And so isn't it? And I don't know which movie it's in, but like there's a skit. It's called Danger Seekers, and it's like the dude. It's called Danger Seekers. So it's like
Oh,
they're
man.
like Southside Chicago. There's a bunch of brothers like standing in a circle, smoking cigarettes, talking shit, right? The dude rolls up in like a Daredevil outfit, like a Super Dave Osborne outfit, with a bullhorn and goes, "Niggers!" and then starts running. Danger Seekers.
Yo, that shit is crazy.
Wow.
It's the same people who made Airplane,
Hey,
who made
look.
these movies, right? So it's like Zucker, Abrams, and Zucker.
Yeah, right.
Whatever. Look that shit
This is
up.
enough
Now
of
they
that.
own Facebook. You know?
Yeah,
This is enough of that, motherfuckers. What's up, y'all? This is Nigel Hall, and that's Derrick Freeman, and we got the assistant DA. There's an opening for your ass right there, boy.
Yeah.
We are the shadow
The
people.
the bleeped opening.
Yeah, for real. Episode 9, nigga. We going in. We don't care.
I love it.
Today is it's a special day. We got a really good guest coming on later on, so stay tuned for that. We just sitting here talking about the problems of the world, man, and it's just a lot going on, and we are entering a whole nother fucking bizarro universe. Every day something new is happening, and you know, yeah, man, I'm amazed. I mean, but I'm not, you know what I'm saying? It's like one of the things we just like, you surprised, but you're not really that surprised.
I think we're desensitized.
You know what I'm saying?
been
Desensitized is
more than
the
8
right
years.
word.
You know what I mean? It's been
It's
9
the
or
right
10
word.
years of leading to where it's at now.
Man, it's crazy.
Really, it's been like
Well,
50 years.
yeah, yeah,
You wanna
really,
really
yeah.
get into it.
I was thinking specifically, like,
Right.
you know, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's a strange
we
times.
was talking. You had an interesting topic earlier about the music, the festival shit.
Yeah, I'm just curious as to where you know.
Mind you, we are entering festival season right now.
Yeah. Now, and you know, and festivals, just like every other entity, there's different tiers, right? You know, I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm not questioning, you know, Jazz Fest or Coachella or any Montreal Jazz Fest. That's not what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
What I'm talking about is these podunk festivals in the middle of freaking nowhere,
Mhm.
and these like some of the poorest parts of the country.
You're saying you aren't questioning the festivals you still want to play at. I'm just fucking around. I'm just joking.
Not an inaccurate statement, by the way. Anywho,
Let me just say anyway.
Anywho.
Anyway.
no, I'm talking about these festivals that pop up, these podunk festivals that pop up in the middle of fucking nowhere, and it's like, wait, these counties and these parishes and shit don't even have any money. How the hell they having the whole festival with like headlining bands? You know what I mean? And I'm like, and we started thinking about it. Like, I'm not trying to cast aspersions on any, you know, legit business owner. And people do grow their brands from the ground up and pull their selves up from their bootstraps and whatever. I'm sure that actually happens. It does. We know.
Mhm.
But that's not the people I'm talking about. I'm talking about these trust fund babies who befriend these drug dealers, and they get all this cash, and they decide they want to throw a festival in the middle of Ohio, or in the middle of fucking Iowa, the middle of Montana, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then somehow they got enough money to get Lettuce or Mo or Galactic, and it's cool. But then they have 30 other bands that nobody ever heard of that they give them $300 a piece, right?
Right.
And it's like, but like, how does this ecosystem work? How is this being funded? How is this still sustainable? I know a lot of them pop up and disappear after a year or two, but some of these, you know, some of these things are going on 10, 20 years, and I'm like, how the fuck are they doing this? I'm like,
No.
because the county y'all do the festival in ain't got a pot to piss in. How y'all got a multi-million-dollar business that just happened here 2 weeks out the year? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just curious about that. It's like my old Rudy Van Gelder theory. Not that Rudy Van Gelder didn't have an amazing ear and an incredible studio, but why was all them jazz musicians driving out to the middle of Jersey from New York City?
Exactly.
Somebody answer that.
Mm.
So, you know,
Okay.
as we pontificate about the music business, let's not forget about that part of it, which is always ever prevalent, even to this day, based on present day.
And then you look at which ones were driving out there too. You know what I'm saying? And then you listen to those records, and then you're like, damn.
It's like,
Hey man, I'm here for all this.
I'm
shit.
sure Rudy had a very nice house. They said it was on a cliff.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, if I live, I'm just saying.
That's
But
some other shit. I ain't think
saying,
of
like,
too. Okay.
something's going on at that studio, you know.
Hey man.
So we got to remember what's driving this, and you know, people feeding into that. You know, these vultures, these overseer types feeding into the, you know, the musicians who are tortured, and some of them are, a lot of them are addicts. You know what I'm saying? So they use their sickness against them, and abuse their talents to further their agenda.
Yeah.
So you know, I mean, there's less of that on the surface level happening these days than back in the day. But I'm still curious about how all these festivals with all these bands just keep popping up. Yeah, it's really weird to me, especially when supposedly there's no money in our business. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's a strange phenomenon.
I wonder if those trust fund bands that you talk about are getting lowballed, like, you know, like the rest
like
of
me.
us.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
I'll take trust fund money. You know, if there's any trust funders that want to
Yeah,
put
I
on
mean,
a
yeah, no,
festival,
I mean,
hire me.
I'm sure I've played at some trust
not
fund
300.
festivals.
And look, anybody
Yeah.
watching, I just, you know, these are
Just opinions.
opinions and questions. There's a whole fucking
I got
disclaimer
questions.
at the beginning of this fucking
I got
podcast.
questions.
We got a right to talk about this shit
Yeah.
with all the fucking crazy rhetoric that goes on the internet all the motherfucking time. We got a right to sit here and ask actual valid questions about some of the things that we see going on. So I don't want people to sit here and be looking at this thing
I mean, I
and be
think this
like,
question,
what
like,
the fuck are they talking about? And we had them and this, that, and the other, and what's that? And, I'll remember that next time. You know, remember it. Remember
whatever,
it.
it's
Think
fine.
about
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Because
nobody
this
else
is
is asking the question.
But I think
we
that's like,
asking the question. These are
Right.
valid fucking questions.
I think that question goes like it goes past music though, right? It's like the whole world is that way. I think it's just music is like this weird microcosm where you can really easily take advantage of people, and it's like it's like exemplified. You know, it's like the 1% kind of thing becomes like the 0.001% in music. You know, and then everyone else is just fighting for scraps. But it's like it's just like the regular world. Like I was saying earlier, like no one just goes out and just starts a bank without some sort of money that they already had. You know what I mean? You can't just go start a multi-billion-dollar corporation with nothing.
With no money.
You know?
No, how you start
So
a
where does
$1
that
billion
money come
companies, you start with like 125 million.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, where do you get that from? You know,
Right.
if I could find it, I'd be retired.
yeah.
I mean, but then how was America started?
Exactly. The whole thing. Now we're getting...
You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
mean, look, bro. I mean, look. This is what's there. I'm not just making shit up. I'm going by what's there. I'm going by what I've seen. I'm going by quote unquote history.
Yeah, as long as you
this
take it
is-
out of the history books, though, then like it didn't even happen.
I'm just saying, you think a black
Yeah.
man, you think a black man, middle-aged black man, could walk into a bank and be like, look, I need $300,000.
even as dressed as nice as you are.
I need $300,000 to start a music festival in the middle of Alabama. Where we at? What we talking about? Well, I got the numbers
man.
approved.
Security!
Yeah.
Music festival.
Right.
Yeah, your flag.
Music festival.
Uh-huh. See?
Woo, that's some funny shit. That's comedy. That's real comedy. You know what? If we ever get to a point where we start doing skits, we should actually do that skit. That would be some
Go to
funny
a real
ass
bank. Don't tell the bank what they
Don't
do.
tell the bank
Just be
shit.
Just walk in and film it.
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
look,
Just
man, I'm
walk
trying
in
to
and
get this
film
loan.
that shit.
I got a great idea. This fucking music festival is gonna be killer,
Oh,
bro.
man.
We're gonna have lettuce.
We're going to have Lettuce.
Wait
We're
till
going
you
to have
see,
Galactic.
bro.
We're going to have Soul
Galactic.
Brass Band.
Man.
We're going to
Soul
have
Brass.
Wu-Tang.
And then
Killer,
like
man.
50 bands that you've never heard of. Then
Right.
$300.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep, exactly. We're going to see how quickly that happens. What's new? What's? Hey man, I don't know what to say after that. I
Yeah,
mean,
we're
we
just-
should go
just
to a
asking
break.
questions,
Maybe we
man.
should go to a
You
break.
know?
I don't know. Maybe
You already
I
said
don't know.
Ivan's coming on today?
I didn't say
You didn't.
Ivan was coming on, but
He's
we
not-
got
is he late yet?
Oh yeah, he's
No, he said
fully
special
late.
guest. It was a surprise, I guess.
No,
no longer.
I mean, it's cool. It's fine.
fine. Yeah.
It's totally fine. That's how we do.
Well, I mean, we're gonna use his name in the advertisement.
We're
So
absolutely-
People are gonna know that. Surprise guest Ivan Neville.
right.
Yo, that's gonna be crazy. But yeah, we got Ivan Neville who's going to be on.
Yeah, let's take a break
as
because
a
he might be
guest.
calling one of us right
Yeah,
now.
he
It's
probably
very
is. We're
possible.
gonna take a
Yeah.
short pause for the calls, and we'll be right back after these messages. I'm Nigel Hall,
I'm Derrick Freeman.
I'm the assistant DA.
the assistant DA, and we are the Shadow People. We'll be right back after these messages.
Ta-da.
All right, our next guest is a talented musician, singer, and songwriter known for his work with the Rolling Stones, the Neville Brothers, Dumpstaphunk, and as a solo artist. Please welcome to the Shadow People, the big homie, Ivan Neville. Welcome to the show, Ivan.
What's up, man?
Good
What's
to have,
happening?
good to have you here.
Good to be here.
Yeah,
My man, my man.
Big
my
cousin.
My man and all.
my man and all, you know.
Man's in them.
My man's in there. Yeah, man.
What's happening with your big dog?
Nothing, man. Just hanging, man.
Springtime, man. We got the perfect weather. New Orleans time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I
This
was
shit got me in a chokehold, though. This allergy season, bro. I just want to let
What's
you know.
going on?
This allergy.
The pollen got him.
Oh, the pollen.
The pollen got
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
bro.
It happened.
I just want to let you know I ain't relapsed
That's,
enough.
oh, you. Hey, nah, hey, I see it at my house
You know
because
what I'm
my wife and my kid they're susceptible to the allergy
Yeah,
thing,
man,
and when
it's
that stuff
so
starts
bad.
happening, they go to sneezing and
I remember when I first came to
All
New
that.
Orleans, the very first time I came to New Orleans, the very first time, I had a gig at like 3 a.m. That was the first gig I ever. It was
a
the
good
first
one.
time. It was actually.
Sounds
it was
about
the
right.
very. Look,
Get
it was
out.
the very first Dr. Claude gig ever.
Okay, that's
And I
a
had
lot.
never met. I had
That
never
says
met Ian.
a lot.
I had never met Ian.
Yeah, when was that? Like that?
Oh my God, this was.
What year
It
was it?
seems
funny.
like it was 20 years ago
had to
at this
be.
That's
point.
funny.
yeah.
dude.
But it was. I had never met Ian. There was a picture. You remember Dinas? Zach?
Oh yes, yeah.
He took a picture
Oh, Zach
of
Denis,
me
Zach.
meeting Ian that
Wow,
first night.
I'd like to
and
see
was,
that-
I
that
wish I would like to find that
flick.
picture, but it was at the Blue Nile, and the gig started at 3 a.m. And I remember walking out, and,
Daylight.
and oh my God, it was
Yeah.
full strip club
Yeah.
vibes.
Right, right, yeah. Yeah.
It
Like
was
the
full-
strip club in the back of Bonnaroo.
Like-
Y'all was talking-
the
Yeah.
blow up
Another
strip
story.
club. Yeah,
You know,
man.
yesterday, Ivan, me and my girl was walking from the vet's office on Chop back to the house through the neighborhood, and I was walking down Annunciation around by like Antonine, all the that area, and I was
Right.
thinking about you, and I was like, it's funny the gentrification now. I'm like, this neighborhood is in flux. I like to call it. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Because
right.
they had a house for sale right around like I want to say like Annunciation and like I don't know Amelia, some shit like that.
Right.
Fucking houses sell for like $1.2 million.
Yeah, a
I
lot.
was like,
That's crazy. That's
I was
crazy.
like, yo,
That's crazy. Well, you said
I start
that.
thinking- I start thinking
who's
about you
from-
and y'all
You know
growing up.
who's from that street? Huh? Anthony, huh?
right?
Nick Daniels.
Yeah, see,
No way.
exactly.
Sir.
Nick,
See?
is, Nick,
See how?
Nick was from
See?
Anthony Street.
Yeah.
12
But I'm saying,
Ward.
I was thinking about y'all coming
Yeah,
up, and I
that's
was
where
like, I wonder
first
what
met
this.
Nick was on Anthony Street.
Tell
Yeah.
us about that. Tell
Yeah,
us how
tell
you
us about
first
the
First
hood.
time I met
Yeah.
Nick Daniels the
Yeah.
third, I was with my Uncle Cyril, and I must have been about 10, maybe 11 years old, something like that. And Cyril at the time was seeing Nick's sister, Marilyn.
Mhm.
They were a couple, boyfriend, girlfriend kind
Mm-hmm.
of thing back in the days. And by the way, I was very impressionable. But in this time, no, because you know what I got. There's a whole another little thing to this story. Because see, Cyril had been. This is like in the Black Power strong era.
Yeah.
Where you'd see a lot of brothers wearing like
medallions.
the
Soul
army,
brother
no,
shit.
the
Yeah,
army
yeah.
jacket,
Oh, yeah, I got you.
army
Yeah, Black
jacket
Panther
with,
shit.
with bro game boots,
Yeah.
and with a
The
Sharpie
S1Ws.
with Black is
Yeah.
Beautiful written
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the thing,
yeah.
and that kind of stuff. And I was kind of following behind Cyril with that stuff at
Yeah.
like 11 years old. Imagine that.
Little militant.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
dude. And I was going to St. Stephen's grade school where there was probably 10 black kids in the
Right.
whole school.
Yeah.
And this was around fifth, sixth grade.
That's why he looked
I
like
was
Elijah
starting to-
Muhammad.
I was
Exactly.
shut up. I was starting to get defiant and starting to
Yeah.
act out
Yeah.
along those lines. And I ended up getting kicked out of St. Stephen's in 7th grade finally. But So I was with Cyril, and also my daddy wasn't too keen on me hanging with Cyril at that time as well.
Cyril was like the
Cyril
knucklehead
was
of the-
kind of militant,
Right.
troublemaker, kind of,
Yeah.
you know, good trouble, like my man Lewis.
Yeah,
John Lewis would
Uh-huh.
say.
Yeah.
Cyril was of that kind,
Yeah.
you know, and I remember going with Cyril. He was going by Maryland to visit his girlfriend at the time, and then I met, this is Marilyn's brother Nick. And when I saw it upon first glance, I thought he was like a grown man. He was, if I was 11, he was maybe 15 or something like that. So it was, but you know, and he had the army jacket. He had like a black, like beanie, one of those little tammies, like Black Panther type tammy. He had that on. I'm like, Cyril done got to him too. That's what I thought. And I know, and later on, I was to find out that yes, he had.
Yeah, really, yeah.
But not only in that way too, but he saw Cyril playing the percussion congas, and that kind of inspired Nick to wanting to play percussion and stuff like that. Yeah. But that was a whole fun little era for me because I had Cyril smoked weed with me when I was like 11 years old, and
that's a good uncle right
on
there.
the side of a bush, on Chestnut and Valley Street.
Wow.
And Cyril come here. I went over there and I smoked the joint. He showed me how to do it. I had already seen them do it.
Yeah.
Him and my dad, and I already smelled it and shit.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, one time when I was much younger than that, they were smoking little joints, and I found them the funny little cigarettes they were smoking. And one time, I asked my dad, I said, what's that y'all smoking? And he said, "Shut up, boy." And I said, "No, I said,
just
no,
like that,
look what I said. It tastes good like a cigarette should." That was the old Winston cigarette commercial.
Right.
So he scared me like, "Shut up, boy." I said, "It tastes good like a cigarette should." But they all bust out laughing.
Right.
But that was like me at 10, 11, 12, that era.
That explains a lot.
And that was when I first met Nick. And then I soon after that saw Nick performing at a dance. I went to a dance and I was maybe 11, maybe 12-ish, something like that. And Nick was playing in a band called Sound Corporation and the Soul Impressions and Sound Corporation. And the Soul Impressions were to become...
And he was playing bass?
No, he wasn't playing
was a
bass
singer.
yet. At this time, he was playing percussion. He was playing timbales and congas. And he was kind of known. He had these timbales that lit up. And his old Nick plays these things called electric timbales. I'm not bullshitting.
Wow,
And
that's
then
crazy.
he started. And the group was the guys that ended up being Tabasco. Then Nick ended up singing with them. Nick, Gerald Trinity.
Gerald Trinity. You told me
Gerald
about him
Trinity
before,
told
yeah.
Nick,
And
you
Tillman,
should
it was
be singing.
Tillman. And
Tillman wasn't.
Yeah.
No, Tillman wasn't with them. Tillman came along.
Came
I
later,
met
yeah.
Tillman later.
Right.
But Trinity was telling Nick, man, you should try to sing this. And Nick, really? He said, you could sing, you could do it. And Nick started singing. And immediately he was like, he had been singing for like
gigs.
years.
Yeah.
And I saw him when he got with the group with the Soul Impressions. Dave performed as a special guest at a citywide talent show. This must have been 1973 or something like that, maybe.
Damn.
74, 73. And Nick and them, it was 4 of those guys in the group, but one of them, Nick told me later, had got injured. I think it was Earl. Earl was for some reason wasn't with them.
Mm-hmm.
It was just 3 of them. And they pulled up in a limousine, like across the field. There's a special guest going to be here tonight, and I thought they were like the OJs. I swear to God. No, they pulled up in the limousine, and the 3 of them got out, hence the OJs, and they sang "You Are My Sunshine." And Nick crushed that. You're the sweetest thing I know. I was like, oh my God, that's Nick.
I can see him
That's
fully
Nick.
crushing
And like
that
I was
16
like,
too.
yeah, dude.
Right,
I'm like,
right.
oh wow, that's Nicky Boo. That's Nicky Boo. And
Oh, man.
a few
That's
years
crazy,
later,
man.
we were, when he
Yeah.
started playing bass, we started hanging and jamming together.
Damn, that's crazy,
beautiful.
man. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. That's beautiful. Because that's funny, because I was about to ask you about, like, collaborations and shit. Like who was some of your favorite collaborations? But I feel like that answered the question.
Nah, dude, no, because
You know what I'm
then
saying?
him being in the singing group, at some point,
And then from there, you just played with Nick forever.
when he started playing bass. Now, he was still in the singing group. I was playing with the Neville Brothers along with Tillman. Tillman was with the brothers from day one, from 1977.
Yeah.
when they formed that particular version.
But
of
Tillman
the
comes from
brothers
y'all hood
together.
too, though, right?
Huh?
Tillman comes from y'all's hood too, though, right?
No,
he
Tillman's
doesn't.
from Pigeon Town.
That's what.
Tillman's
Okay.
from up there, not far from the Maple Leaf.
Gotcha.
Up there on Joliet Street.
Yeah.
So he was from up there, but he had a band with a guy that was from our neighborhood by the name of Newton Massa. And they had a band called Blackmail. And they were, at the time, touted.
That was almost the name of this podcast.
They were touted as being the heir apparent to the Meters.
Okay.
They were rhythms. It was four of them. The Poche brothers, Roger Renard Poche,
Yep.
Gerald Tillman on organ and whatnot.
And then this guy on
Newton
drums.
Mossop on drums. They were
He must have died.
badass.
He died early or something, huh?
No, Newton's still alive.
Oh, okay.
Newton's still alive.
All right. Okay.
Tillman died in 86.
Yeah.
But when they came along and they became the Neville Brothers' first backup. They became the Neville Brothers' first band.
Okay.
And that's so Tillman was like, he was an unsung cat, like a hero of New Orleans music, because he was kind of like the glue that helped the Neville Brothers' life. As they survived forming a band,
Right.
and through different changes and through years going by, they made a record. They made the first record that really didn't catch on, and before they became the Neville Brothers, world renowned. Tillman was like the guy that was kind of like the auxiliary cat.
Right.
That was the given.
Right.
He would be playing back there, backing them up. And then when I started playing with them, it was Tillman.
Yeah, because
me, and Art.
there was a video that just resurfaced on Instagram that I saw not too long ago. You playing with the Neville Brothers. I can't remember what year it was, but I think you know which one I'm talking about.
I think that was like
That's the yeah. Are
79
we talking about this? Are we talking in this time frame?
Nick was
Because we're gonna find the video. We're gonna put it.
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
But
It's probably
that was during that time.
Yeah, I had a fro. And with
Yeah,
that.
you with
Yeah.
the
We
real
all
skinny
lit.
with the
Yeah.
skinny neck
we
with
were
the
all
fro.
on blow.
Yeah.
I was like,
Right.
we were high as I
Yeah,
don't know
you
what.
had full yak mouth.
Oh yeah,
I was
we
gonna
was
say
definitely
something
had
about
that.
that.
Yeah, we definitely had
Look,
that.
I don't look. We
But then there's also, I mean, if we talk about that, there's one clip that I saw not too long ago of and the shit was killing. This shit was still killing. But Nick was on bass actually. And I think y'all was at the Sanger and y'all was doing Dance Your Blues Away.
Right, it's the same
Because
band.
I really wanted to do that song too.
Right, right.
But yeah, it was during that time, and I think you had on this like glitter.
I had on a glittery tuxedo T-shirt.
Ah, yeah.
Right, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
With a little
man.
band around my
Loaded
head.
as hell.
I had a fro.
Loaded.
I had a fro. I was lit. No,
set
and guess
the
what? You know,
range.
there was some legendary. There was some legendary.
And look, we didn't pull you on
party
here to
favors.
just talk about that.
I know, but
I'm
it's
just
kind of
saying,
it's interesting.
No, but
because I
do
talk
have one
about
story.
my
No,
own
wait.
shit too.
He
Like
does.
I ain't.
I do have me too, but I do have one story.
that was
No, I do have one story I want you to tell.
Go ahead,
though.
come on.
Nah, go ahead.
Because people who watch the podcast, people who live in this neighborhood, especially, they know James. James, if you don't know, plays the sax, and some people refer to him as Craxophone. Some people refer to him as Crackety Sax.
Oh, you talking about man?
Yeah,
He be on magazine.
I haven't known him
St.
since before.
Oh no,
Crack
I
days.
don't know. I ain't really know him like that.
But
Talking about the man.
Did you- but
he
you
be
did-
by the jealous shade.
Did you
with
tell
him.
me,
I ain't really hung with him like that. No, I just know the type.
Right.
Absolutely. I know I done hung out with somebody exactly like him before. That's funny. No,
Wait a minute, hold on, real quick. You talking about is this the dude that play alto?
He be on the
They walk up and
saxophone on
down.
St. Charles Avenue
That's
all
some
over the
crazy shit because
Yeah.
I got a memory of
Mike. His name's Mike.
I got a
Mike,
memory.
yeah,
I got
yeah,
a
Mike,
memory
Mike.
of him. I got a memory of him from when I first moved here, and it was after
cuss you out?
Marty. It was no, he ain't cuss me out. I was far away from the nigga, but it was after Mardi Gras, and it was that Tuesday, so it was like past midnight, and I was just finishing some situations,
Yeah.
and I was on my balcony because you remember where I used to live on Magazine Street. And it was nighttime. Everything is shut down because at midnight on Fat Tuesday, everything shuts down. It's all over, and so New Orleans was quiet, and it was this real eerie kind of quiet. And I was home, finally at home, and it was foggy outside, and I was on my balcony, and off in the distance,
You
I
the
heard this
saxophone.
saxophone, and it was sharp
Mike.
as shit too.
That's
And
kids.
look, it was
God.
it was and he was in the middle of the street, and he was walking down the street, and he was just having a second line by his damn self.
Wow.
And
Every
I was
once in a
like,
while-
yo, I live.
I remember that. You were living on Magazine right off Washington, right there.
right next to the
yeah,
gas
yeah,
station.
yeah.
I stayed
remember
there
that.
too. I stayed there for a little
I know
while.
that. I
Front
remember
that,
that.
yeah.
remember that.
I stayed there for a little while.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
And I was just like, damn.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
I was
who-
like,
I
damn,
remember
I
who
live
was
in
the
New Orleans
proprietor
now.
of that establishment.
Yeah. Exactly.
Man,
A lot of us stayed there.
Look, anyway,
Yeah. So
but yeah,
not like that, but
No, I know.
Yeah, but
So you know what? I just recently saw that person as well.
yeah. Shout to that person because because
I saw her. I saw that was Shira. I
That's
saw
my
Shira
people.
at the
Shira crazy
Whole
as hell.
Foods.
That's
I've
my-
seen
that's
her
my
recently a couple times at the Whole Foods.
I went to the game with her the other day.
Yeah, she looks great.
Yeah, she's
Absolutely.
killing.
She seems to be doing good. Yeah.
She's doing good, and I'm glad. And look, we all doing good now. That's the
thing. Everybody's
everybody. We all, we all grow, and everything is good. You're gonna be real busy with that bleep machine.
no, it's fine. It's all
Oh,
right.
what? You trying to take some of the cuss words out?
No. We
Some
doing
other stuff.
Yeah, we
said
Oh,
some
you
shit
bleeping
earlier.
some?
Before you said
before you even got here.
we had said a bunch of shit.
We was on.
Drew was recording because that's what Drew does. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
And we was just talking, and
Y'all got some of that
But
stuff.
there was
guys.
back to the
The names have to be changed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Protect
Names have been changed for your own protection. Right.
Back to what we was talking about though. There's also another clip, and I wanted to ask you about what this situation was like. It's one of my favorite clips of you is on Night Sounds with David Sanborn.
Oh, right.
And
Ooh, I used to love that show.
And the band,
forgot about
yes.
the
Oh,
band was Marcus Miller,
Omar Hakeem.
Omar Hakeem,
Yep.
George Duke, on
Hiram Bullock on guitar.
Hiram Bullock,
Philip Sazy. Philip Sazy on keyboard. And George Duke was on that episode.
Yeah.
And he was playing along with me.
Tell us
Miss
a little
Ruth
bit about
Brown.
that. Cause
Dude, you know what? I wish I would have
'Cause
been in better
yeah.
shape for that performance. I was pretty much semi lit. I
Bro,
had
but
been
you-
up for a day and a half or so, and I knew I had this cool gig. I felt honored that I got to go hang and play with Sanborn and them, and got to play one of my songs with them with George doing the
But
intro.
it was killing.
It was
It
kind of
was
good.
so killing
You know
still.
what was cool about it was I got to sing with Ruth Brown,
Wow.
who was
Wow.
a legend. Who is a,
That's so
was a-
crazy,
Was
yeah.
a legend.
I met
And
her when
she was looking at me. We were singing.
Yeah.
We sang "Since I Fell for You,"
Yeah.
which is a class standard jazz.
Yeah, I love that.
kind of vocal.
Yeah.
And
Tune.
it
I
was
don't know who
fucking
did
killing.
that song originally, but it's one of those tunes probably
I
done
love
by.
Chuck Brown version of that. Just
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Chuck
wow.
Killer version of that.
So what's cool was obviously that whole experience in playing with all of them, but later on, some years later, and this was I was doing this gig. There was a thing. It's called Lightning in a Bottle. It was a blues concert that was filmed at Radio City Music Hall. It was in early 2000s, and any blues legend that was still alive at the time was on it. I'm talking everybody. I'm talking anybody from B.B. King, Solomon Burke, Bonnie Raitt, Natalie Cole, and Ruth Brown, and among a bunch of other people.
Etta James
And
probably. Etta James probably.
Etta, you know what? Etta was not on that. Mavis was on it.
Yep.
Etta wasn't on that. I don't know why Etta wasn't on that. That's
Probably
funny
cussed
you
the people
mentioned
out.
that.
Told them
She probably cussed everybody.
You know that.
Who knows? But anyway, the coolest, and
She's
the,
like, you
the,
giving
no,
me
the
what?
band
for that shit.
Hey, the band for that was Jordan. Steve Jordan was the MD,
Oh, it's so
and
killing.
the band he had on the other kit was Levon. Levon Helm. Nobody plays shuffle like Levon.
Yeah.
A blues shuffle. Levon's the man, and he had
Levon is one of
Willie
my
Willie
favorite
Weeks
drummers,
on
actually.
bass.
Woo, that's
He had
that's
Willie
my
Weeks
favorite
on
right there.
bass, and then he had Larry Taylor on upright bass. Larry Taylor's this cat who played in that band Canned Heat, but he plays
love that band too. Yeah.
upright bass stuff. And guitars was Kev Mo, Danny Korchmar, and he had the Memphis Horns, including my man, what was his name? Ben Carley. He was the guy that survived the plane crash with Otis Redding.
Oh.
So I got to meet
Stop
that guy.
playing.
Yes, he was in
Damn.
part of the horn section of Memphis Horns.
Mm.
Yeah,
That's
so that
crazy.
was the band that was backing up all of these legendary and me on organ and Dr. John on piano.
Damn.
And that was the band. I'm like, what am I doing here, right?
Yeah.
The whole time, except we were at a rehearsal, and we were rehearsing like at one of the big rooms in one of the SIR places or somewhere like that in New York. And Ruth Brown comes in, and she walks in, and she walks on the stage, and everybody's like, bowing, like
Yeah. What we
respect.
do.
And she said, "Hey, Ivan, where you at?" Like she knew who I was, and that was from that show.
It's from that.
I knew
Night
her
Sound
from that show.
From that- okay,
but
yeah,
I
yeah.
had run into her over the years after that. But that's when my initial connection was with her. But that made me feel, that was one of those moments where I felt I was insecure. I was on a set with a bunch of heavy hitters, and I'm thinking, what am I doing here, kind of thing. And then Ruth Brown walks in, and everybody's trying to talk to her, and she says, "Hey, Ivan, how you doing?" And I'm like, and matter of fact, I
inside you're bugging. You're
No.
like not trying to
right.
bug out. Cause
And I felt really like good. It made me comfortable. It made me,
Validation.
yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm here. Ruth Brown know my name. I'm good. I'm cool. Yeah. That reminds me of another stupid story about Nunu.
oh Lord.
Oh,
Nunu.
God.
Amazing photographer extraordinaire from Chicago,
Chicago, yeah.
and a friend of all of us musicians.
Shout to Nunu.
We were playing
Shout
a
to
gig in Chicago. It was Soul Live, Dumpster, and Al Green. And I think we had already performed.
Was I on that show?
Huh?
I might not have been on that show.
I don't
think
know.
I was on
You
that
might,
show.
but you would remember this.
because I would remember
Because
this.
Al Green pull up in the limousine.
Yeah, I wasn't there.
I had to say not limo, limousine, because it rhymed. Al Green pull up in a limousine, and I had to say, it occurred to me, like, I got to say the whole word.
Crazy.
And no,
Sound
and
like
as
the
he's
start of
and
a
as he's
song.
hopping
Yeah,
out,
yeah, for
as
real.
Al Green's getting out the car, there's people like pop, cameras and people trying to get a hold of him,
Yeah.
and hey Nunu, he runs dead to Nunu, up to Nunu.
Wow.
Like we're like, oh man, Al Green knows Nunu.
Oh, Nunu got
Nunu
juice, man.
knows
Nunu
everybody.
Nunu got juice.
Yeah,
He be
Nunu
like,
got- yeah, for real.
Nunu
Yeah.
knows everybody.
Nunu
Yeah.
got credentials. Don't you
definitely
dare
big
ask
time,
him where
yeah.
his credentials
he in the
are,
pit.
'cause-
Nunu's in the pit.
yeah,
Trust me. He got the best.
shout to Nunu, man.
Yeah, love that dude.
Yeah, I got a question. So, speaking of all of that, as we all know, you have been very open about your own personal struggles, and for anybody watching, I think I make it clear about some of the things that I've gone through in my life as well. And I want to say to everybody that Ivan was very instrumental in helping me to get into treatment and to get sober. And like, aside from being one of my heroes and one of the people, when I first came around, you were like one of the people. I mean, I feel like you might have seen a little bit of yourself in me when I was coming up, and you always used to come up to me, and you would always, just kind of put your arm around me and kind of be like,
I'd have a
hey,
little look. I'd have a
yeah,
little
you
look
would always have a
sometimes,
look. You would always
I know
definitely
where you
have
at.
a look. But
Right.
one of my questions is, let's not we
Some
ain't
side
gonna-
eye.
Yeah,
Go ahead, go
yeah.
ahead.
I mean, shit.
Yeah.
You and everybody else.
Uh-huh.
But you've been open about your personal experiences and your struggles, and how does your music reflect your personal growth and self-awareness?
Wow, that's a good question, man. What's funny is, okay, I got to tell you, the first music that I tried to make, like when I got sober, so I was scared about that
Mm-hmm.
when I stopped drinking and doing drugs, because
You use it as a mask. Sort of.
it was such a crutch.
I should say. Yeah,
it was
yeah,
my
yeah,
thing that helped me to take the edge off, and then obviously I would dig a hole and try to dig another hole and
Yeah.
climb into that, and then I would
Before you know it,
yeah,
you in
yeah,
China.
infinity, right? No, yeah. So when I
because I know that the whole all too well.
and I used to
you know
think
what I'm
to
saying?
think that the whole music and all of that was connected somehow.
Yeah.
I really did.
Yeah.
And then when I had to stop Okay, I was at the point in my life where I kind of knew it, but looking back, I absolutely know it. That if I would have kept doing the things that I was doing, I would have probably died. I would have not survived. Or I would have easily landed up in jail or something like that. And so I made the decision to try to change my life. And the first gig I had out the gate was I was playing with a band called the Spin Doctors. And I had been previously playing with them before. So I saw some of my bottom years of getting loaded playing with them. So when I went out to play with them again, I had to really, it was really
Damn, so you went back.
to playing with the band that I was playing with when I had last, when I was bottoming out.
That's
And I saw some dark stuff.
That fucked your mind up too.
No,
huh?
but it did. But they were careful with me, and I was scared to go to New York. I was scared to come to New Orleans. Certain places I didn't. At the time, I was living in Los Angeles, and so. But I had carefully planned. Okay, so when I go and start traveling, playing music again, I'm gonna know this is around. I'm gonna go to some some groups, whatnot, 12-step groups or whatever I was trying to go to and all that, and I'm gonna make sure that I'm not in any bad situations or vulnerable spots. So when I started going to New York, they would put me up at this DoubleTree hotel that was in Jersey City. And it was right by the river. So I could look across the river and see the New York skyline. But I'm in Jersey City. And I didn't know enough. Now I could have found some trouble
In
if I
Jersey City,
wanted
you could have
to,
found anything.
but I didn't. But I would
Right.
go to that hotel and I would catch the PATH train into New York, get off at Christopher Street or whatever, and I would
34th
do my
and
bidding, whatever I had to do. And that was my first couple of a few months out of treatment. And then I went on a trip. We went to Portugal. We went to Europe. We did a little tour of Europe. And I went to like 12-step meetings and stuff, like in Germany and Portugal and all this kind of stuff. So I had moments that were really special, that really kind of spoke to me. Like I was in Germany in like one of those meetings, and they were speaking in German. So I'm in the meeting and I can't understand nothing nobody's saying, and they're speaking hardcore German. And I'm sitting there and I'm feeling something, and I'm like nodding my head like I know what the people talking about. But it's the feelings. I was feeling something, and at some point I looked up at a writing on the wall, and the first word was GOTT, and I'm thinking, God. That must be God. That must be God in German.
But what was
it? Was the Serenity Prayer, and the first word was God. And there was somebody sitting next to me that spoke English, and I said, "Is that the Serenity Prayer?" And the guy said, "Yes, it is." No, and right when he said that, I looked back at it, and then some church bells rang from off in the distance. One of those moments. It was just a moment. And
Spielberg moment.
No, it was one of them. And then I walked out of that place to go back to my hotel, and you know what was going on that week?
In Germany,
Oktoberfest.
Oh yeah.
So they were walking around with them little skirt-looking thing with the little hats with mugs of beer and shit.
I can only imagine because Germany's like maybe the first place I went in Europe with Walter Payton, Nicholas Payton's father, when I was 18, maybe 18, 19. Frankfurt, Germany. I never forget this. And I remember walking down the street and seeing somebody shoot up, like casually.
Wow.
Like it being like
just out in the open.
Yeah, bro. So like I can only imagine what it was like in Germany during that time.
Because see, that's crazy.
No, I'm just saying because that was right. Because when did you get sober? It was in the 90s.
I got sober in 98.
Right. So this was.
So
I'm talking about like 93, 94 or something in Germany. So I already know 98 in Germany. Everything was going on. So that was it was. I know that was. You had to be mentally. Really.
You know what? I had no idea that there was. Obviously I was some kind of way in a safe place, and I just kind of felt like I was.
Right.
So to go deeper and answer your question about the music, and what I started feeling about music was I felt an innocence about it and a connection to it that I had never really felt. I felt nervous when I would go play. And I felt like I used to feel when I was like first starting to play like in high school. And I was like, there was some beauty to that.
Yeah.
That I was slightly nervous. I felt them butterflies in my stomach. And on certain gigs, I still do. Certain times when I'm playing, when it's
Well, it
like
just means you
quiet,
care.
no, I care, but I'm like not. I'm just me and my feelings, my vulnerabilities, and all of that are for the world to see, and I'm in acceptance of that. But there's something that's really special about it.
Yeah.
And so that connection to music that made me feel like more connected to music than I had ever felt before.
Yeah.
Because there were times when I was getting loaded where I was so pitiful in my personal life that the only safe place there was for me was on stage.
Right.
And when I wasn't on stage, I was absolutely miserable.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even want to leave the stage
Right.
because I knew as soon as I left the stage, I was going to be in search of.
Right.
I was going to be
Yeah.
chasing something that I was not going to be able to find.
And people were going
and
to
I
be
was
in
gonna
search
be
of you.
uncomfortable. And I started feeling like, that in that place.
Yeah.
So
I feel the same way. Like when I got out, when I got out of rehab, I was really afraid of whether or not I could use the part of my brain that was a creator. And I know now, after being as long as it has been, that part of me still really is very much, open and in tune with what's going on. And like for instance, right now I'm working on a record that is basically the subject matter of the record is my journey to sobriety. And it talks about there's one particular song that talks about really like me being back out on the road again after being in rehab. Like I should not have been back out on the road when I went back. I mean, I was good. You know what I'm saying? Like because the other thing was like
the grace of God that got you through.
You know
that.
what I'm saying?
I get
like
it.
the other part about that was just it wasn't that I was concerned about whether or not I would be doing the same stupid shit I was just doing. But I was just mad. I was mad. That's why they call me Huey. Like I was mad as fuck all the time about shit. And now I've gotten to a point where, I know how to kind of like harness that anger and put that anger into the music. And that's why I asked you about like how it was with you making your music now, because I know that it's becoming this is what I'm gonna say. This record is my JoJo Dancer moment.
wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you remember in JoJo Dancer where Richard Pryor had like set himself on fire and like he had to basically go back to that moment.
Right. Yeah.
There are a few moments on this record where I end up actually having to go back to the moments that I felt like this was like the end and like having to go through it. But I feel like it really made the impact on, you know what I'm saying? What was going on in my life.
Yeah, and
So-
that's an underrated flick, man. That movie.
love that
That movie.
Your,
You know what,
your
though,
life
Ivan,
is
you-
calling. See?
Yeah, your life
Your
is
life
calling.
is calling.
You said
He said,
something.
JoJo, you ain't no damn junkie.
You no, but you said something earlier that stuck with me because I think about this a lot. Because like your generation, my generation, Nigel's generation, like the influences and like the mentors or whatever we had, it was very skewed. You know what I'm saying? Because you're dealing with a lot of people who had a lot of mental illness and a lot of issues. And so it's like, I tell people this shit all the time. It's like people ask me, about Soul Brass Band and why we do so good. And I'm like, well, it's because, like I built a band of musicians that are all sober. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And mostly good people. And but I remember when I was younger in my 20s, coming up in New Orleans and on the scene, like I thought to have a successful band, like you had to have at least one asshole. You had to have at least one drug addict. You had to have everybody had to be womanizers. Like I thought that was just part of it. Like, because that's what I'm seeing. That's the influences I'm getting. I'm like, oh, you got to be, you know what I'm saying? You got to be this type of fucking
And that's part
drugged
of
out
the-
asshole to be successful in this business. And which is not true, but it's about the influences and the shit you. So I feel like the John Michaels of the world and them and Aurelians and people like that, I feel like they got a better shot
to
at this because they have influences of people who aren't as, you know what I'm saying? Not to shit on the people that came before us, because we love them for what they gave us.
But we were
musically.
taught some habits.
We were taught some habits that was not.
Some habits that some people couldn't handle some of the stuff that we were
exactly.
led on to believe that's the way to go.
Right. Exactly.
And
That's what I'm saying.
we survived that.
And not
luckily we survived it. Right.
Not
That's
to
what I'm
cut
saying.
y'all off, but the other thing is too is like when you coming up as a musician and you read all of the stories and all you reading all of this shit and all of the shit that's laid out for us as young musicians being influenced, you know what I'm saying? You know how they talk about children, and they say that children, the mind is like a sponge.
Yeah.
So when you have all of this information out about your heroes being drug addicts, and think about all of the saxophone players that wanted to fucking be Charlie Parker and all fucking junked out and shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like we were thinking that element of being a musician or being an artist was necessary.
Oh no, you
And
thought
they-
that was the genius factor.
You thought that was the genius factor.
I used to justify being up late at night because I'm like, because everybody else sleep. I got access to all this energy. I can write some bad.
What do they say? They say all of the bewitching hours, like people writing music at like 3 in the morning. Like, man, fuck all that. Like that was like I am most killing in the morning.
Yeah, me too.
You know what I'm saying?
But
Like,
I used
that's
to
what
like,
I do.
used to
all my
like that
killing
late
is-
night. I used to like that late night
Yeah,
shit.
I mean, we all
I had some
did.
sessions, but you know what I'm just saying. But like, what I'm saying is, but a lot of it was rooted in mental illness, and nobody was talking about it.
And
That's why I
nobody
think
was
we have
talking about it.
I think younger musicians are an advantage today because we could talk about that and talk about what leads to the issues that people have. That even though there are heroes, these motherfuckers had issues. You know what I'm saying? We're not
And
supposed to
that's
be like
part of the
implementing
reason.
that, trying to like replicate what they did.
Yeah, everybody,
Cause a lot of
everybody
damage.
had their own ways of medicating and
Right,
stuff
exactly.
like that. And then what we've come to realize is that, like, you know, that's what's funny about when when you're walking through life. You're walking through life, and sometimes you don't feel good,
Right.
and you just don't feel good, and usually that passes, and then you feel better.
Right.
And then some really cool things happen and you feel kind of excited and ecstatic,
Right.
and then that passes. And then you feel just kind of what's maybe average, okay, and stuff like that. And then you might go through times where something really significant happens. Somebody dies,
Yeah.
where you have to grieve losing a loved one or a friend. And then that makes you feel. But the funny thing about it is what's happened for me with all of this experiencing life is that I feel like I don't want bad stuff to happen. And I like the fact that my behavior is not prone to these drastic extremes like they used to be.
Yeah.
Where I got off on either feeling extremely high or extremely low. I was kind of comfortable like that. I thought that was my place.
Right.
But then when I started having to live life and not be medicated and not be putting a Band-Aid on such drastic maneuvers, as Dr. John would say, some drastic, mental maneuvers.
Right.
No, so I'm used to, I'm getting used to being okay.
Right.
And being comfortable in my own skin and like not having to compare myself to others and anything outside of myself. Which that's natural. You do it anyway, even though sometimes you don't want to. But I don't react to it as bad as I would have reacted to
Do you feel like
that
it's
kind of
something?
stuff.
Do you feel like it's something that you always gonna have to be getting used to though?
Absolutely.
Like you never
No,
not
there's
you
no-
never gonna not be.
Yeah, there ain't some
Always,
place where,
you know what I'm
I'm
saying?
content. No, I know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have days where I'm gonna be cool, and then sometimes I might wake up in the morning and I'm thinking
Meaning it's always
I'm
gonna be
thinking
a
a bunch of negative
readjustment.
shit. I'm thinking
yeah.
some negative
Yeah.
shit,
But we have it all. Me and you have, we have some days where we got to call each other.
Yeah,
just like,
absolutely. What's going on? What's happening, bro?
I got to just
What's
vent
that?
this stupid shit out, and then we can start. Then we can move on. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I got some 7 a.m. rants from him where I'm like, all right,
and you know what's
get
funny?
that shit out.
That's beautiful because you be up too.
No,
That's
yeah,
why
but that's what you
call
call.
you
And early, you need somebody to
But
call.
you know what?
You
What I got right now? What I got going for me is I get in that mindset initially.
Right
now, either I could do one or two things. Sometimes I don't remember to do it. Like if sometimes my own version of prayer or whatever I might want to do helps. But you know what's the one thing that helps me the most is thinking of someone other than myself.
Yeah.
So my first
Perspective.
my first job in the morning is to make breakfast for Isaiah. So I immediately go and I want to make a breakfast that that's gonna be good.
Yeah.
He's gonna enjoy. I even come in there and look and say, how you like when the pancakes rolling, blah, 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 stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I take pride. But then my mind is I'm not thinking about myself.
Right.
And I'm immediately in a better place.
Right.
Because not thinking about what I don't have and what I'm gonna lose or what somebody else got that I ain't got, and what possible how I'm gonna fuck this one, this situation up, and self-sabotage, which I kind of lived like that for a long time, where I was always normally self-sabotaging myself.
Exactly. That's
So
the type of
now-
shit that causes you to do the things that you did.
Yeah.
Because you feel in that discomfort.
Because you're like, fuck it, I already fucked that up.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
Yeah. I feel that.
exactly.
It's deep.
That's some deep shit. What you got going on with Dumpstaphunk
Yeah.
coming up soon?
Right now, dude. You know what? So I'm playing. So I took this Tuesday, 3 Tuesdays in this month at the Maple Leaf, right?
With
Dude,
Dumpstaphunk?
we played. It's not called Dumpstaphunk because Ivan and Friends shared sessions,
Oh, okay.
and we played last Tuesday and we played last night,
Okay.
and we start off with no set list. It's no set list, and the first song is made up. We pick a key and we make up something, and then we groove that for however long it marinates, and then
So
and
who was
then
on the gig?
huh?
Who was on the
Me
gig?
and Tony, Ian, Ari. Last night was Raymond.
Oh,
last
shit.
week
Why
was
you
Al-
ain't call me?
Last week was
me?
Alvin Ford. I don't know. I thought you knew. I don't know why I didn't call you till
man,
you would have been up in
you
there.
shoulda called me.
Oh my
I'd have been
God,
up
George
in
came
there.
sat in last night.
Oh, that's
George
wow,
came
man.
just wanted to come out because he said, "Hey, call me." He said, "Man, y'all playing the Maple Leaf?" I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "I'm coming."
He
I'm
was just
coming over."
out hanging?
He came in there and I said, "We gotta." He came up and we
See,
played.
it must be nice
No,
to be Ivan Neville.
Exactly.
George
George
Porter
just
just
come
come
hang
He
out.
came up
hang
and we
out
got
at
him
your
up,
gig.
and he came up and played Change Reform. But the funny thing was, we played songs with Raymond that we hadn't played. That we had Dumpstaphunk.
Yeah.
We played some Dumpstaphunk songs that we hadn't played in 15 years.
See, I would have came out and done deeper
that.
with y'all for that.
But see,
We didn't play deep.
see, I
But
should've-
guess
see,
what?
see,
Are you
see,
home
oh.
next Tuesday?
Am I home next Tuesday? I don't know. I got to look
think
at
you-
I
See,
I think you
gotta
got
we
look
can
at-
play deep. We'll do it next week.
But look,
Okay, cool.
it's funny you say this. Speaking of Raymond, because I remember when it was Tony Hall and the Heroes. Remember before y'all
Right,
was even
yeah.
Dumpstaphunk, we was out in Brazil and some other places.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Like I remember,
He can do it.
I just remember the
Oh, Lord Jones.
the formation of the band. Like they was still Tony Hall and the Heroes. At some
Right.
point, they became
With
Dumpstaphunk.
Raymond, yeah.
Yeah, Raymond was in that band.
Dude, we had some fun. You know, the funny thing was...
Who was your boy? Wait, who was your boy, bro? That the fucking guitar player who I love. Who was the brother of your boy that used to play on Bourbon Street, play guitar? That
Kenny?
lived down in
Kenny
Brazil.
Brown.
Kenny, yeah.
Kenny Brown.
Oh my God, he back home now though.
He
huh?
back home.
Yeah.
He be playing
Talk
somewhere
about a
else.
club. Ooh.
He kicks. No, he kicks, bro. He kicks. Hey, so
You
no,
can't
so
move to Brazil, so that's all you need to know.
he was out in the food over there. He done
all I
moved
need to
over there. He
hear.
done met woman over
Oh, no,
there.
he
and
stayed-
moved- found somebody that had a
San
little
Paulo.
paper. He was living it up. He was
said
living La
San
Vida
Paulo.
Loca up in that mall.
Hey, real quick, I just wanna- go ahead.
So basically, so Dumpster has. I mean, as you know, we've been hit hard.
Yeah,
Like
Major
losing
hits.
Nick.
Yeah.
And I mean, and having the timing of it, having
It's
lost
almost been
Russell
almost a year
Baptiste,
now too, which is
having
crazy.
lost
Yeah.
Russell the year prior, and then losing
And then
Nick,
Big Pat.
and then losing Big Pat,
Pat. Yeah.
and then you can't replace Nick Daniels III in a group that he helped found. He helped start that band. You can't replace him. Not only his bass playing, his singing. Nobody can sing like that. his
Nobody.
presence, his everything. So you got a void. So how do you keep going? So we figure, okay, prior to Nick getting ill, we had called Viv and had Viv come sing with us on
That's
occasion.
literally what I was just
anyway,
getting ready to say.
we had Viv come with Nick.
Viv's doing better,
So
though, right?
She
imagine
is.
how we with Nick, Viv, and Nick. That's what our plan
That was the dream,
That
yeah.
was my plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To have Viv, Nick, me, and Tony and singing, vocals crushing, blah blah blah. And so then we lost Nick, and so now Viv came in, and just her vibe and her already having camaraderie with the fellas, with everybody. It just was so cool. And that voice, her voice and the way she sings, she don't sings like a lot of her generation.
And we talking about Vivica Hawkins.
I'm
who
talking
is
about
doing
Viv.
insane.
Do they still
Vivica
have the
Hawkins.
GoFundMe up for her, by
We're
the way?
gonna put the GoFundMe
Vivica
up
Hawkins.
right up here. We're right with her face.
So-
because she's doing much better.
Yeah.
I just want to say, and just real quick,
But she's got a long road
she
to
got
recovery.
she got a road to
Yeah.
recovery, but she's doing a lot better.
I talked to
much
her a
better.
couple- 2-3
I talk
days
to
ago.
her every goddamn day.
Yeah.
And she is fighting, but she's a fighter.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing about it, is that
So-
she's a fighter. So she's doing good, but we still got the GoFundMe. So definitely hit that up.
So we just kind of start hitting a little stride with Viv, and then we call Ari to come, because now you're missing what Nick played on bass. So how's Ian gonna adjust to not having Nick there?
Yeah.
Ian maybe took it harder than all of us
He did.
in a big way, and that's something that he and I have to
both of
continue
us
to
did.
talk about.
Because we was both in the band with him too.
Yeah,
So-
Dr. Clark.
We just talked about
And
it.
so
Yeah.
having that void, and then just starting, we had some cool songs with Vivica that were gelling, and the band was having fun playing. And she was singing the shit out of Deeper, and we were trading off, getting to sing some of Nick's parts, which we were kind of finding joy in trying to sing Nick shit,
Yeah.
and sometimes accomplishing it and feeling really cool, and then sometimes missing the mark, and I'm like, damn, fuck Nick, I can't sing that shit, god damn.
Yeah.
I tried, but then some nights I be hitting that shit, I be like, oh shit. God damn. And
Trust
so
me, I know.
that trying to be a band and a working band
Yeah.
in the
man.
midst of all of this, trying to heal and
Trauma,
repair in real time. All
Now,
of
aren't
that.
you glad that you've learned how to deal with that? Like,
No, big time.
imagine if you were still in the way you used to
Oh
be
no,
and all that shit.
I wouldn't be. All
Yeah.
bets would be off. You
Yeah,
know,
probably
Probably
wouldn't
wouldn't even
the
be
funny
here to
thing
be
about-
talking and tell a story.
and then having I went to therapy. I had this therapist that me and my wife have gone to for over the years several times, because we were having issues in our relationship and stuff. So we started going for that. Now I've always had the other group therapy that I go to with my 12-step stuff and all of that, whatever. And so there have been times when I've kind of got in my head a little too much, and I needed some solution, and I needed to find the solution, which is usually in here.
That's all you.
And I had to
already
go to therapy to figure out how to tap into it and get it right. So when Big Pat passed away, so Nick died in April 26th. Pat died September 22nd or something.
No,
like
he died on September 15th. He died
The
on
15th?
my birthday.
Oh, on your birthday.
died on my
okay.
birthday.
He died on September. So September. At that point, there was that month, I was devastated, and I was like, "Damn, I got to talk to somebody."
Yeah.
So I called and got an appointment to go see this lady that I talked to. And the funny thing was, I went in there, and we start talking about, the initial about Nick passing away, and we got into Pat passing away, the whole thing. And the funny thing was, for the first time, I hadn't really noticed how that process really works. And I've been with this lady off and on for 10 years.
Therapy or grieving?
Therapy.
Okay.
Not the meetings and stuff.
Yeah.
The meetings I've been going to for 20 something,
Yeah.
long time. But the therapy, longer than that. But I mean, been sober since '98.
Right.
But so what I realized, I'm in there with this lady, and we're talking, and we get to a point, and I started crying, right? And then she said something that wasn't. I didn't see it as extremely significant, except that whatever she said made me go somewhere else with my expressions. After I cried. And then when I went somewhere else, and then I cried again. I cried like 4 times. Yeah. And it was all to do with grieving and accepting the loss of my friends.
Yeah.
Russell, Nick, Big Pat. But then it went to my mom, losing my mom. Yeah. And then it went to my grandmother. Yeah. My grandmother told me something, and this is what really helped me. It guided me, and it ended up. You know what it ended up? I ended up being about me and my mortality.
Damn.
At the end, and I cried again because then I was facing the idea of none of us gets out of here alive. Yeah. And at some point.
Don't matter what you do.
I was thinking about Isaiah.
Damn.
Isaiah and his mom. I'm thinking about my little boy. So I went from grieving about my friends, talking about and I'm losing my mom helped me to get through these other losses.
Yeah. Because that's kind of the worst thing
you know what I'm
that
saying?
could ever happen
And my
to you.
grandmother told me something when my mom passed away. And my grandmother, she lived, my mom died in 2007. My grandmother died in 2011. Literally almost, because my mom died on January 5th. My grandmother died on January 11th, 2011. And right about a little while after my mom had passed away, my mom says, Ivan, she says, your mother died a beautiful death. And I'm like, what? What? I never heard of such a thing. I didn't know there was
like that.
I didn't know there was such a thing as a
That's
beautiful
an
death.
interesting concept.
Yeah, what the fuck is that, grandmother? Goddamn. And then she goes on to tell me, when I left the hospital after your mom closed her eyes and breathed her last breath, I left the hospital and I looked outside and I looked up to the sky, just casually, and it wasn't a particularly cloudy day, but there was one big cloud, and I saw about 4 or 5 other little clouds that looked like steps. And I pictured your mom going up those little clouds. Wow. So this fucked me up. This fucking threw me bad, right?
Yeah.
It fucking threw me. But what it did, it made me think about, and it made me think of the concept of finding beauty where there is tragedy and sadness. It made me dig that concept. And it made me think of when I was on the fucking Jam Cruise that year, 2007, and I found out that my mom had died. I'm on that boat.
Like Benny did.
I thought about, and this is after all this had happened, but me thinking about what my grandmother said later on, you know who told me that my mom passed away? It was the only person on that fucking boat who was capable of doing that. Fucking Miss Era.
Yeah.
George's wife.
That makes a lot of sense.
And when I saw her walking toward me, she got about 5 feet from me, and I started fucking bawling. I started bawling, and we hugged, and then she said, "Yeah, your mom is gone." Blah blah blah. And that was, and so, but I guess the point is all of that shit, feeling that stuff. You know what? That's what life is.
Damn.
You know what? If it's got to happen, I'm gonna fucking feel it.
Man, that's crazy. Can we, bruh?
I want to feel it. I do not want to fucking anesthetize. I do not want to fucking medicate that.
It's crazy,
That's what fucking life is, and I want to feel it.
You guys,
I don't want it to happen, but if it has to happen, I want to feel it. And that,
you guys, y'all don't know this. Both of you guys, like when COVID was happening and the shutdown, like I was getting divorced during that time, right? So the dark times was upon us. Now, I don't know if y'all remember, but I had started a little podcast. Danny, you were on it too. Actually, I started a little podcast during the COVID, and I actually interviewed you while you had COVID. I don't know if you remember this, right? Yeah. And like, the impact of that on me was heavy. And you said some shit too, and when I interviewed you during the same time, it was like I was starting to realize of the vulnerabilities I hadn't tapped into, even like coming out of a failed marriage and all the shit that I was burying, you know, and having to go to California to be alone. We were talking about that the other day, like that, you know, like being alone, and I was scared of that because I was thinking, man, I gotta leave, you know, and I'm about to be sad and lonely. And you know, I never got lonely during that whole fucking time because the solitude was some shit that I ain't never embraced my whole life. Because you know, I'm a dude that's I got 5,000 friends. I'm all, you know, ta-da, life of the party type shit. But like when you really go in, you know what I mean, and spend that time on yourself, like the joy you get from that is a different type of feeling. So I appreciate you for always being vulnerable in these situations. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because like you inspire a lot of us musically, but also just as our big brother. You know what I'm saying? We fucking look up to you, and I for one really appreciate it, bro.
Yeah, and like I said, you are instrumental in helping me not only become a better musician and a performer and an artist for my own self, but you are instrumental in me being fucking alive today.
Oh, come on.
Because when I realized it was time for me to go to treatment, you were the first person I called, and you went above and beyond to get me the help that I needed. So I want to thank you for coming on this podcast.
Thank
I
you,
want to
man.
thank you
all
for sharing,
inviting
sharing your heart and your soul and your stories with us. And damn, ain't really shit else for me to say. After all of that.
So we've been listening to Doug. We've been listening to Doug Below across the hall.
Bitch
play the
ass
same goddamn. Play the saxophone.
Where is he? I gotta go fuck with Doug. Oh my god.
Play the same goddamn beat for 2 hours.
Oh my god.
We in there bearing our fucking soul in this bitch ass.
That's funny as fuck. That's a funny fucking dude, boy.
We love Doug Below. Doug is our homie, but you know we ain't trying to be sentimental. This nigga playing rudiments. You know what I'm saying? You know,
loud too, for
loud. He's out of the fucking reverb chamber out there. Man, look, I'm Nigel Hall.
I'm Derrick Freeman,
and this is Ivan Neville, and we got the assistant DA, and we want to shout out the Brown Hound Sounds. We got Drew up in here, and we want to thank y'all for tuning in. And we'll see you next week. Or whenever the fuck we do this again, which will be sooner than later. But also, real quick, we got some Jazz Fest episodes that we got coming. We got this whole shit lined up for y'all. So
don't even say the names.
I'm not saying the names because we ain't got them yet.
It's coming. Trust me.
But stay tuned for these. But we got mad potentials.
Yeah.
So we got concepts of ideas. Concepts of a plan, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna be awesome. Yeah. So thank y'all for tuning in. Shadow people, we out.
Love y'all.
Oh, that was beautiful. Damn, Ivan.
Man. Oh, get out, man. Come on, man.
You're not coming on this show.
This motherfucker, they took over the show. We gotta give Ivan the show.